everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Virtual Coffee. My name is Alexa Collier, and on this podcast, I sit and drink virtual coffee with accomplished and innovative early career professionals and small business owners. With me today are the owners of Mami's Baking Co., Maria and Paul. They are passionate bakers who want to serve you the perfect cookie. Mami's Baking Co. sells cookie boxes from sizes 6 to 100, and they deliver within 15 minutes of Wake County, North Carolina. They also ship their cookies, and I must say, and we do get into this in the episode, but their cookies just look so delicious. So keep listening to hear more about Paul and Maria's cookies. Now, before we dive into their story, I'd greatly appreciate if you could rate and review Virtual Coffee on the Apple Podcasts app. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. It's at Virtual Coffee Podcast. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for listening to this episode. Now let's dive into Maria and Paul's journey. Welcome, Maria and Paul. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you. We're so excited to be on.
I am so excited to speak with you. And I know we just chatted about this before we started recording, but I am the biggest dessert and sweet fan. So I am just so excited to dive into your business and products and the cookies you sell. So with that, I would love to hear Mami's Baking, the mission in your own words, and where the idea to create this cookie business came from.
Yeah, absolutely. Our mission is to provide the best gourmet cookie experience. So one of the reasons why we started Mami's Baking, one is Paul and I, we are huge foodies. We love going out to local spots. And whenever we travel, we make sure to go to dessert places. So like you, we have huge sweet tooths. We started our foodie experience in New York. That was actually one of the first trips that we took together. And we tried these loaded cookies up there. We fell in love with them. Paul's mom is also a huge cookie baker. We love her cookies. So we thought, hey, down the line, we should start up our own cookie business where we can share our recipes and let other people taste what we like. And so when COVID first started, Paul actually lost his job. So we decided that this would be the best opportunity for us to launch our business. We knew everybody was going to be at home. No one could go out anywhere. So people would be at home on Instagram, figuring out where to order. So we just decided to turn this into an opportunity for us. And that's how Mami's Baking started.
That's awesome. I love that backstory. And I definitely want to dive into the actual cookies you bake and sell. But first would want to know, did you have any experience with baking before launching Mami's Baking?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So I love to bake. I baked since I was 5 years old, helping my grandma in the kitchen. I'm always trying new recipes, going on Pinterest, trying to replicate recipes. I'm a huge fan of Chrissy Teigen. I have both of her cookbooks, so I also go through her recipes. And then Paul, I'll let you speak for yourself.
I guess I just always kind of grew up around it, and especially just, Maria and I living together, I'm always been exposed to it. One of the first things she actually made for me was a cake, just kind of out of the kindness of her own heart. She just came over and had this amazing white chocolate raspberry cake, and that's kind of how it all started. So I've just, again, I love the creativity to it. I enjoy cooking myself. Never really was a big baker, but I've always been exposed to it. So kind of just worked out that way. And then I obviously had all the time on my hands, so I got to learn very quickly, or had to learn very quickly.
No, that's awesome. And it seems your baking came from a passion for it, right? And just being around it in your families. And I think that's where the best businesses stem from, is a passion. And I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
A love for food and creativity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a great way of putting it. Can you describe the types of cookies you sell, and go as in depth as you want? They just look so amazing on your Instagram. I hope everyone listening checks them out so you can get the visual, but would love to hear your description of them.
Yeah. So I don't know if you plan on plugging the Instagram at any point in time, but it's at Mommy's Baking Co. It's MAMIS Baking Co. So that's where you can go and see all of our cookies, but we've got a couple of different kinds. Our main cookies are our big, thick quarter pound to like a third of a pound cookies. Our gourmet and our loaded gourmet cookies. So our regular gourmet cookies are just your typical, if you want to call them typical, chocolate chip, sprinkled cookie, peanut butter, and our chocolate monster mash, which is a chocolate cookie with chocolate chips and M&Ms. They, again, though, I mean, we make sure to put as much filling as we can in each cookie. So there's no bite that you can go without having a chocolate chip or an M&M or anything like that. And then our big sellers are our loaded gourmet cookies. So that's ones that have all these different kinds of fillings. Some of our best sellers are our Cookie Monster, which is a blue cookie on the outside with Oreos in the dough. And then on the inside is a softer version of the chocolate chip cookie. So that's a big seller. We've also got our red velvet and our lemon cheesecake, both of which have a cream cheese filling. What else do we have, Maria?
Sure. So we have our bacon livers cookie, which is our maple bacon walnut cookie, and it's basically maple dough with crushed walnuts and bacon bits. That's a big seller for those who love savory and sweet. We have our crownie, which is a chocolate chip cookie stuffed with brownie on the inside. Then we have our No Figs Given cookie, which is a gluten-free cookie with oatmeal, walnut, and fig. One of my favorites for sure. And then right now, one of our best sellers is our Miss Witherspoon, which is a peanut butter cookie rolled in Reese's Pieces with a peanut butter cup filling and drizzled with peanut butter frosting. So that's one of our best sellers. But other than that, we do offer minis, which are cookies that are half the size. That's a little box that kind of has an assortment of what we sell on our page. So all of our cookies are a fourth of a pound. So these are just a little bit smaller. They're about half of that.
And then we also offer thin cookies. Actually, one of the earliest feedbacks that we got, some people don't actually like the thickness of the cookie. They just are very old school and like that thin, crispier kind of cookie, I guess, feel. So we actually kind of went with the same recipes, but similar to what we did with the minis, you know, going towards the a little bit less guilty side of things and just rolling it out and give you a little bit of a different texture and feel.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to diversify a little bit in the options.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think like with one of the biggest things with us, with our fourth of a pound cookies is, you know, we love sugar. So for us, we love to fill the insides of our cookies with the best treats out there. And another one that I forgot to mention was our Granddaddy cookie, which is a purple cookie that has a Rice Krispie filling on the inside. That's another one of our best sellers. So yeah, we are all full of ideas here. And going into the holidays, we're about to come out with a holiday collection in the fall that has pumpkin flavors, cinnamon. We're working on a candied yam cookie. So these are going to come out next month. So we're very excited for this.
I think that's one of our favorite parts about just having the cookie business in general. Just, again, like I said, just how creative we can be with it. And there's so many different opportunities and just endless combinations that we talk about. I mean, we it's gotten to the point where we're just sitting on the couch and we're kind of just throwing ideas back and forth. Like we won't be saying anything, and then one of us just out of nowhere will come up with some like random cookie flavor and we'll just start talking about it. So it's fun. It's definitely fun.
My mouth is watering. Oh my gosh. They just sound so good. Even without the visual in front of me right now. Like it just sounds so good. And the names of your cookies are awesome. And I love how you brought in that creativity aspect of it, right? You can get so creative with baking and even just with naming the cookies you sell. Like that involves some serious creativity there as well. And thank you for diving into the details of your cookies. I could probably spend our whole time here just talking about that and the ingredients and everything. But oh, they just sound so good. I love it. And do you guys ship your cookies, or are you mainly delivering locally?
We definitely do deliver locally. We're actually working to open up our first storefront soon,
Oh,
but
wow.
whole business started on the internet, and that's just us shipping all across the country. We've shipped to, I believe, like 35 states so far.
Oh, wow.
So and counting. So yeah, it's been mostly internet business, a lot of word of mouth, and a lot of Instagram and Facebook growth. So, but yeah,
And I would say starting out being on Instagram has helped us tremendously. We've had a number of big companies reach out to us and ask to send their employees little care packages. And it's kind of insane how many big companies are utilizing Instagram to search for gifts in other companies.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's great point as well, especially in this new COVID world, right? Companies are looking for ways to provide their employees with that interaction and that happiness that comes from being in the office with, other coworkers and your team. So yeah, I would, my gosh, love to receive that as a care package. I'm gonna have to
we've
send
gotten
my company your link.
yeah, we've gotten some very good feedback from like the just those companies who have placed orders with us. Just how happy all of their employees have been from just receiving the packages, and they just thought it was so creative and something nice, especially in our area in the Triangle, North Carolina. There's a big focus on a local feel, and that's something that we've really found has done great for us. Just a lot of local companies looking to try and stay local and get that community feeling to it.
Yeah, that small business and that local mentality here in Raleigh is so strong in this area. Yeah, that's a theme that's come up with other small business owners I've talked to in the Raleigh area. Speaking a little bit about your journey of launching this business, would like to just dive into that a bit further. You started this recently, and it seems you've kind of nailed down the baking aspect, even shipping. I didn't realize you guys ship to other states. Like that must be a little difficult to figure out when you're shipping food. But would just like to dive into this journey of launching Mommy's Baking Co. and what were those major steps you took, or perhaps challenges you faced, really wherever you want to take that question.
Yeah, sure. So I think with us, I think we're both like very like business oriented people. And I think just like from the experience that we have on our past jobs, that's really helped us launch this business. I think a lot of it was trial and error for us at the beginning,
Definitely a lot of trial and error.
where we weren't shipping things I guess in the best way possible. We were spending too much money on shipping.
Just something different every day that we would think of that you don't even think of until it happens.
Like packaging.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of packaging. I mean, our first orders started coming in, and we literally looked at each other and said, how do we get these to them? Like we didn't even think about it. And I think one of the funniest things is we were kind of putting it off, like going live with our website and everything. We had our Instagram going for a little bit, but we didn't want to like officially start taking orders. And it just got to one day, and Maria was on like, just do it. Let's just do it. And I think that's one of the biggest things in starting a business. They want to be, or they are kind of timid and don't. They want to make sure that everything's perfect, and they want everything all figured out. It's not going to be figured out until you actually start doing it. So I think that's the biggest thing. Just go for it and kind of just do it and get after it. And nothing's going to be perfect, but it's gonna work out as long as you put the time and effort into it. So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways we have from it.
And I think for us too, one of the things that we did early on was a cost analysis just to make sure that we were making a profit and to make sure that this was sustainable. So I definitely think for anyone who's looking to start a business, the number one thing you should do is to make sure that it is something that's sustainable for you, and that you can do it long term. So with us, with everything that happened with Paul losing his job, we decided that, hey, you know what, we're going to live under one salary, and
Mhm.
we're going to save every bit we have, and everything we make from the business is going to be invested right back into the business. So I think you just have to be really careful about how you're spending your efforts, and that's the only way that you can make your business grow, I think, with just being able to manage everything efficiently.
Yeah, really great pieces of advice here of, I love the point of eventually you felt you just got to the point where you just had to do it. And that's also been a theme on this podcast as well that I've heard from other business owners is you can't wait for perfection. You can get as close to it as possible, but eventually you just hit a point and you got to go for it. And then like you were diving into, Paul, of new things came up every day and you figured it out. And now you know how to do that packaging and you know how to ship it because you had that trial and error. I think that experimentation is just so important. And then also on the flip side, making sure you can sustain that experimentation, sustain that business, make sure it is that right next step for you. And we did start to get into, advice you have for other small business owners. Would love to know if anything else is top of mind, or also how you mentioned your past job experience helped you a bit when launching Mommy's Baking Co. What aspects of your jobs helped you, or, resources you have for others, just kind of what advice do you have there?
Sure. So I come from a financial background. I was a
Mhm.
financial analyst. So I think for me, it was being able to put Excel sheets together and just, making sure that it was affordable for us. That was a huge help. And just, being able to close my own books, and being, able to keep up with that information. Paul comes from a procurement background. So he was able to stay on top of any supplies that we needed.
I think sure, past experience makes a difference. I think people kind of just do or don't have a savvy for it. You kind of have to be a dog and you have to be just willing to succeed. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just whatever you want to make of it, and whatever you're willing to make of it is what's going to come of it. You just have to be willing to put in that work. It stinks, but we are already talking about how we're not going to be able to go away as much as we'd like to. Especially, I like to go see my family for Christmas in New York. So we're already talking about how we can't spend as much time up there because, that Christmas time is going to be very busy for us, especially if we're able to open in the time frame that we're expecting to. So I think the biggest thing is really just making sure that you have that focus and that you're willing to just fight and overcome all the hectic and crazy stuff that goes into it. Kind of like we said, it's never going to be perfect and it's very stressful. And that's just a simple matter of fact. You just have to be okay with it and you have to be willing to just roll with the punches. So especially especially during quarantine when Maria and I are spending this much time together, it's sure, when we're both going to work, maybe we have some time to ourselves in a way, but now we're co-owning a business and we're with each other 24/7. So it can get a little tense at times, and just trying to bounce ideas off each other. We can both be very strong-minded at times. So maybe like I want to have one thing my way and she wants to have something her way. So we've definitely come a long way in our relationship as well. Just, learning to kind of meet in the middle and work together. So there's just so many things that go into it. And at the end of the day, like I said, you just have to be willing to roll with the punches.
And then one thing that I would say for anyone who's starting a new business, don't be afraid to utilize social media. I mean, for us, this is how we've grown as a company. We are active on Instagram. We're always replying to our followers. People are messaging us there all the time, especially with Facebook too. We notice that there's different demographics between Facebook and Instagram. So I think it just depends who you're targeting. If you know that a certain demographic replies better to some type of campaigns, then go ahead and do those on Instagram. If you know that your followers are all looking at your story, then go ahead and do that on Facebook, or vice versa. So I think a lot of people are just afraid to utilize what's free to them, and that's social media. you can post every day for free. It doesn't cost anything to do that. So I think that's just the best way to get your message out there and your brand out there.
Free advertising is definitely a underappreciated resource that everyone should be taking advantage of.
And always do the max amount of hashtags. That's always my key takeaway. Hey, do the hashtags.
I love that. I love that very specific action item we can take away from here. And Paul, going back to what you were saying, really appreciate your transparency and realistic mindset of it's what you make of it, right? If you're starting a small business, it's all depends on the dedication you have to it and the focus and the drive, and just be realistic with yourself on that. And then, Maria, with your advice on social media, I love your call out of pay attention to the different demographics, different interaction based on the platform. And that gets me thinking, because I go towards Instagram more, and whatever I post on there, I just share it on my Facebook page too. But what can I perhaps do differently based on the platform? I think that's a great call out. So thank you for sharing that. So would love to know where your mindsets or where your minds are at with the future of Mommy's Baking Co. And what are your goals for the business? Would just like to know your big plans for your business, as much as you can share.
Yeah, sure. So we have recently got to the point where we need to expand our business, and we realized, like, okay, we are getting these many orders a week, so it would be to our best interest to get a storefront. So we found the perfect location, and one of the things that we're doing now is we actually launched a GoFundMe, because after we realized how much it was going to be able to do everything, with licensing and upfitting, it was just so expensive. So we're having to take out a loan. We're doing the GoFundMe to pay for some of our machines. So we're thankful that you reached out, because this is a great way to let people know that, hey, if you want to donate to people who are putting everything they have into a business, we're here. Yeah. So right now, that's what our current steps are. We're very excited,
and we have very big plans for it too, outside of just cookies, and so much more with our cookies. So we're definitely excited, and we've been looking forward to it. It's come a lot faster than we expected, but it is here, and we're so ready for it.
We're ready. And and that was one of the pieces of advice that we got from someone, a financial advisor. He said, in order for you to make money, you're going to have to spend money. So either take the risk or stay where you are. So That's what we're doing now.
You guys have such clear mindsets on this. I just love the passion in your voice when you say we're ready. We made it and we're going to do the next step. It's just the passion you can hear it. I love that. And if you're allowed to say, will your storefront be in Clayton?
Yes. So we're working on a couple of different possible options, but the one we're looking most forward to is actually in the Riverwood community.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Congratulations on those steps of opening up a storefront. That's huge for a small business. That is so exciting. Really looking forward to that. And do you want to shout out, we can do this at the end as well, but would you like to shout out your GoFundMe page?
Yeah, sure. So our GoFundMe can be found under Mommy's Baking. I know Paul had mentioned this earlier. So our Instagram is at Mommy's Baking. And then when you're on Instagram, it shows up as Mommy's Baking Co. Our website is www.mommysbaking.com. And then you can also find us on Facebook under Mommy's Baking. And then if you wanted to find us on GoFundMe, we're also under Mommy's Baking.
Okay, so perfect.
And it's also,
and the link's in our bio.
On our Instagram bio. So if people want to reach out to us that way, they can.
Perfect. Yep. And I can put the GoFundMe link in the description as well. So we, discussed the future of Mommy's Baking Co. a bit. I would like to know, are your futures definitely, clearly right now they're with Mommy's Baking Co. Is this a full-time profession for you both right now?
It is. I mean,
okay, excellent.
Undoubtedly a full-time job, whether Maria is working her actual full-time job or not. She's kind of juggling, as many balls as possible, trying to just keep everything afloat. And, it's obviously I'm doing it 24/7. So, I mean, whether you are doing something else or not, it's always going to be on your mind, whether it's, again, just being on Instagram, trying to grow things that way, trying to reach out to new vendors, new possible businesses to be working with, just brainstorming ideas, thinking of trying new recipes or anything like that. It's 24/7. So, and I think that's really the best way to be most successful.
The grind never stops.
That is true.
Yeah. Right. And is that your goal to, just run with Mommy's Baking Co. right now? Do you have other business ventures you're looking to pursue, or is it really full steam ahead on this current business for now?
I think for us, it's all about Mommy's Baking right now. We would love to one day extend it out, maybe do a franchise out of it. But for right now, we would love to open up our location in Clayton. And then eventually, if our dreams come true, we would love to have a location in Durham and maybe one day in New York.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be so cool. Love those goals. To switch our topic to, balancing that work and life and other passions or seeing friends and family as we mentioned before, have you learned some best practices on how to balance all that, or even just tips and tricks, right? And I know none of us have that balance perfectly figured out yet, but with running this business, just interested in knowing if you found some tips and tricks that help to balance it all out.
Alexa, I wish I could tell you how many nights we've been up until like 2 or 3 in the morning baking. It's balance is such a fine art that I think we will figure out in a couple years. Unfortunately, for the time being, I think we've kind of accepted the fact that it's, like Maria said, just full steam ahead for the foreseeable future. And again, it stinks, but that's just the sheer reality of it. And I guess we're kind of okay with it. We actually have another Instagram account called the eatandtravel.net. We love traveling, and like Maria said, we're big foodies, so we put all of our content up on there as well. All of our separate personal content. So it stinks because we have all these plans to go to all these places and see all these things and do all these things, but again, we need to kind of let mommies take priority for the time being. So I think we've both kind of come to a mutual agreement that the balance is Mommy's Baking.
I can't wait for a couple of years down the road to be able to take a vacation again.
Right. Yeah. And I think, Paul, I liked your mention of, the word priorities. And I think perhaps instead of looking at it as a balance of work and life, and now I'm just thinking out loud, it really comes down to what your priority is at certain times in your life. And that will change, right? Depending on where you're at, where your head's at. And for you guys right now, like you said, Mommy's Baking Co., that's the priority. And maybe in 5 years, I don't know, something else will be number one priority and Mommy's Baking Co. will move down the list. It just depends, right? Where you're at in life. And I think that perhaps is the better mindset instead of, oh, do I have the perfect balance? Because no one will ever find that perfect balance.
And we just have such big plans for ourselves in the future that we're really just kind of trying to grind it out for the time being. So eventually the business can be working for us. So I think that's really the ultimate goal. And we're trying to retire by 35. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You and my husband are trying to retire at 35.
We are kind of working for the betterment of future Maria and Paul.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful mindset. And yeah, I just, like I said before, you can just hear the passion in your voice and you have your eye on that goal, that you have your eye on that ball and you're going for it. And it seems to have worked so far, right? You guys have seen such great success. So love that momentum and the drive you have. So my last big question for both of you, and would love to hear from both of you, is right now, what is your proudest accomplishment? Now, of course, this can be related to Mommy's Baking Co., or it doesn't have to. Just when I ask you right now, what's the first thing that comes to mind as your proudest accomplishment?
I think for us, it would be not giving up. I think there's definitely been nights where we've been like, it's 4:00 in the morning. We're still baking cookies and, we have this huge account, like huge order, to fulfill. And we're like, should we continue to do this? Like, are we nuts? we've definitely had those thoughts. So I think for us, it's been a lot of like, hey, you know what? We're here, we're doing it, we're staying motivated, we're staying positive, and we know we can do it. So I think just being able to have each other's backs and just working through whatever comes our way has been very helpful. And it's a huge accomplishment for us, just staying positive and knowing that at the end of this, we could have something huge.
Excellent. Paul, anything to add to that?
I second that.
Awesome.
I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, hard work pays off.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you guys are proof of that. Awesome. Well, is there anything, I may not have asked that you wanted to bring up on this episode, or anything top of mind that we just may not have gotten a chance to speak about?
This was awesome, and I know I really appreciate it, and I think I could say for the both of us, thank you for having us on and just kind of giving us a little bit more of a platform to just talk about what we've gone through and hopefully give someone else who was in our shoes at one point, some ideas or at least some sort of jumping off point. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was awesome to hear your story and connect. And yeah, just thank you for sharing your wisdom and your perspective, as I know others will definitely gain value from this, and just really looking forward to seeing where you take Mommy's Baking Co. And also very much looking forward to purchasing cookies here in the very near future, as I need to try one. Awesome. Well, before we sign off here, would love for you to shout out your social medias and your website just one last time. Where can people check out your beautiful, beautiful cookies?
So we've done a pretty good job of keeping it pretty consistent for all of our platforms and the website included. Everything is either at Mommy's Baking, that's MAMIS Baking, and then the website is mommysbaking.com.
Perfect. That's pretty easy to find. So I hope everyone checks out Mommy's Baking Co. And again, just for the pure sake of making your mouth water, go check out their pages. But thank you again so much, Paul Maria, for chatting with me today.
Thanks, Alexa.
Thank you so much for having us.